introduce exhibits and then play?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, so I'll read the instruction regarding prior testimony before you play the video.
Okay.
Okay? Which we use a lot in civil cases, rarely in criminal cases.
Your Honor, I guess I should indicate that, which I did before, that it's been redacted. I still have the objection based on the witness not really being unavailable.
I understand, and so that objection will be preserved.
Very good.
Okay, so when it comes time to, for the testimony to be played, if you feel the need to, you can renew all previous objections, or we could just deem it done now. Okay?
It's considered done now.
It's done now.
Very good.
Same rule.
Very good.
Ready?
Yep.
All rise, jury entering.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're ready to proceed.
Judge, at this time, the state would introduce Exhibit X, Composite 1 through 18, the text messages between Ivy Vann and the defendant, as well as State's Exhibit BB1 through BB14, which are photographs of Ms. Vann's suitcases that will be discussed in the perpetuated testimony.
Okay, any objection?
No.
Okay, that'll be admitted.
And at this time, Judge, we would be introducing State's Court Exhibit 6, the perpetuated testimony of Ivy Vann, and Court Exhibit 7, which is the transcript.
Okay, very good.
Permission to publish, Judge, the perpetuated testimony.
Yes, yes, that's fine. Members of the jury, the sworn testimony is it Ivy Vann, correct?
Yes, Judge.
Ivy Vann, given before trial, will now be presented. You are to consider and weigh this testimony as you would any other evidence in the case. All right, you may proceed.
Maintain contact after that initial meeting?
Yes, please.
And how is it that you maintained contact with him?
Through phone, text, and could you hold it right here, please? This on the script, tell the truth.
Ms. Vann, you can go ahead and have a seat. And you're going to need to speak loudly so we can make sure everybody can hear you, okay? Can you please state your name for the record?
Ivy, Afia,
And how do you spell your last name?
V-A-N-N.
And are you currently employed?
Yes,
How are you currently employed? What do you do for a living?
I'm a nursing assistant.
I'm sorry?
Nursing assistant
A nursing assistant? How long have you been doing that for?
since 2006.
Okay. And do you do that here in Florida or elsewhere?
No, I live in Columbus, Ohio.
How long have you lived in Columbus, Ohio?
Going on 3 years now.
Do you know a person by the name of Granville Ritchie?
Yes, please.
I'm going to show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit D. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
I used to date him.
You used to date him?
Yeah, we're in a relationship.
And what did you know his name as?
Travel.
Did you know his name as anybody, or did you know him by any other name? Other than Trevor?
No.
In your phone, did you have him saved under a different name?
No, I tried. Granville Ritchie.
Granville Ashanti Ritchie. Did you know him by both Trevor and Granville Ashanti Ritchie?
I knew Travel before, then later I found out it was Granville Ashanti Ritchie, so I changed it to Granville Ashanti Ritchie.
Okay. And this photograph, is this how he looked back when you knew him?
Yeah, it was the same.
For the Motion to perpetuate the state would offer into evidence the state's exhibit D. Ms. Vann, showing you the photograph that you just looked at, how long into knowing this man originally by Trevor did you learn his name was Granville Ritchie? Was it soon after you met him, or had you known him a long time before you knew his actual name was Granville Ritchie?
No, I knew him, the last time I came in, visiting him, that's when I knew his, real name was, Granville Ritchie.
Do you know when your last visit was?
I think it was somewhere in January 2014.
Do you recall when you originally met Granville Ritchie?
I know it was 2013, somewhere September.
September of 2013?
Yeah, something like that.
Were you living in Ohio back then?
No, I was living in Mississippi.
And where is it that you met him?
I met him through a friend. We were at the mall.
At the mall?
Yes.
And was that in Mississippi that you met him or elsewhere?
Yeah, a friend told me about him, and he was working in Alabama. It wasn't far from where I was living. Yeah.
And you said he was working. Did you know what he did for a living at that time?
He said he worked with a phone tower. They work with a phone tower.
Phone towers, cell phone towers?
Yes, cell phone towers, yes.
And at the time, were you single, married?
I was married, but separate.
Separated from your significant other?
Yes, please.
After you, do you recall when you originally met Granville Ritchie with your friend there when he was working in Alabama? Do you know when that was?
I can't recall.
Okay. Do you believe it was in 2013 though?
Yes, oh yes, it was 2013, yes.
And did you maintain contact after that initial meeting?
Yes, please.
And how is it that you maintained contact with him?
Through phone, texting.
Just that one moment.
Ms. Vann, if you can just speak loudly, we need to make sure that the reporter is catching everything that you're saying,
Okay.
okay? After you initially met Mr. Ritchie when he was working in the Alabama area, did you ever see him again?
Yes, he came back and visited me in Jackson, Mississippi.
And how long did he visit you for in Jackson, Mississippi?
He came back for like a couple of days. Yeah.
Was he working at that time, or was that just a...
No, he wasn't working, he just came back to see me.
Make sure you speak up loud.
Yeah.
Did he ever travel again back to visit you after that second time?
No, that was it. After that, I had to. Yeah.
Did you ever travel to see him?
Yes, please.
And when is it that you traveled to see him? Do you recall?
No.
How many times did you come to visit him?
I think it was about 3 times.
Where is it that you traveled to visit him? Was it the same place every time?
And yeah, I came to Florida to Tampa to visit him. Yes.
Okay. The first time you came to visit him, where did you all stay?
In a hotel.
Was it in the Tampa Bay area?
I'm not so familiar with the area, so.
Do you remember what airport you flew into?
Yeah, the same airport, Tampa. Yeah.
The Tampa airport?
Yes.
And the second time you came, where is it that you stayed with
In a
Granville?
hotel, same hotel.
Again, in the Tampa Bay area?
Yes, please.
Did you have a romantic relationship with Granville Ritchie, or was it a friendship?
Romantic relationship.
Were you dating anybody else?
No,
Were you aware he was dating anybody else?
no.
You weren't aware, you did not believe he was dating anybody else?
I was not aware, and I didn't believe, then he had told me he had separated from his wife, so.
So was he in the same position that you were, that you were
Yes.
both
Yes.
married but separated at the time?
Right.
Did you believe that it was only you and him in this relationship?
Oh, yeah.
The third time that you came to visit Granville Ritchie, where is it that you visited him at?
At his apartment, his mom's apartment.
Is that located in the Tampa Bay area?
I think so, I'm not sure.
How did you know that it was his apartment and his mother's apartment?
He told me that it was his mom, name on the apartment.
Did he live at that apartment, Granville Ritchie?
I'm not sure if he lived there, but he had some few things over there. Yeah.
And when you visited him there this third time, you stayed the entire trip at that apartment?
Yes, please.
Did his mother stay at that apartment when you were here visiting the third time?
No.
Did she have some items there at the home?
Yes.
Do you recall what items she had there?
She had clothes, shoes, yeah.
Do you recall the name of the apartment complex?
Something else.
Something Oaks?
Yeah, something else.
Does Doral Oaks sound familiar to you?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
When you were here on this third visit, did you meet Granville Ritchie's mother?
Yes, oh, yeah.
Where is it that you met her?
She came and see me, she came and see me, and, we went out.
And what is her name?
Gloria Gibson,
Gloria Gibson. Did you know her by any other name?
Vivian,
Vivid?
yeah.
Did you maintain contact with her after this third visit through phone or through calling or text messaging?
Yes, please.
When you came to visit Granville Ritchie down here in Florida, was he working at that time?
No, when I came, he wasn't working. Yeah.
Did he have a car?
Yes, he had a car.
What kind of car did he have?
I think Lexus.
A Lexus?
Yeah.
Do you recall what color that Lexus was?
If it's not gray or black, it's either one.
Gray or black?
Yes.
And is that the car that he transported you in when you were here on your trips?
Yes. Yeah.
When you came down to visit Granville Ritchie the third time you came down, did you ever leave any items in his apartment?
Oh, yeah, I left a lot of clothes, shoes, luggage, perfume, watches, yeah.
Why is it that you left belongings behind in the apartment?
Because he asked me to leave my stuff there so I don't have to carry the stuff back and forth.
So your last trip you previously stated was in January of 2014. Is that the last time that you traveled down to see him, and is that when you left the items there in his apartment?
Yes, please.
Was there any plan to come back and visit?
Oh, yeah.
Had there been a scheduled time, or you were gonna decide that later on?
Yes, I was just going to say that later.
Were you ever planning on moving in with him, that you left your items there?
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
Was there any set time that that was going to take place?
No.
When you traveled to Tampa the third time, do you recall how many pieces of luggage you brought with you?
Yeah, I think I brought two, a carry-on and a huge luggage, yeah.
Do you know how many pieces of luggage you left behind in January of 2014?
I'm not sure, but I know I left a luggage. I know I left one, but I'm not sure if I left both. But I know definitely I left one big, one brown.
I'm going to show you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit BB1 through BB14. You've previously seen these photographs? Okay. Do you recognize these photographs?
Yeah.
How is it that you recognize the photographs?
That's my luggage.
Okay, if you can just make sure you speak loudly. It's your luggage?
Yes, please.
Do you recognize this luggage as being the one that you left in January of 2014?
Yes.
And these photographs fairly and accurately depict what the luggage looked like in January of 2014?
Yes.
State would move into evidence, State's Exhibit BB1 through BB14 for the motion to perpetuate.
Objection.
Ms. Vann, I'm going to show you State's BB1. Was that your
Yes, please.
luggage?
Yes.
And you think that you had a carry-on with you on that date?
Yes.
State's BB4. And the brand, was it Dockers brand suitcase?
Yes.
Did it have all the zippers, publishing BB3 zippers and wheels on your luggage the last you saw it?
Yes.
Where's the last time you saw this piece of luggage?
At this apartment?
State's BB7. There's a photograph showing that it was empty. When you last saw this piece of luggage in January 2014, did you have items in it, or were the items elsewhere?
Yeah, the items were out in his closet.
So the clothing, your shoes, perfume
Was out.
was out
Yeah.
the way it would be if you were living there.
Right.
State's BB10. Is that your luggage tag with your personal information on it?
Yes, please.
State BB11. Is this the tag that was on that piece of luggage
Yes.
that you flew US Airways
Yes.
and arrived on January 2nd?
Right.
And that was January 2nd of 2014?
Yes, please.
Do you recall how long you stayed on that third visit, that you stayed and visited Granville Ritchie?
I think I stayed for 10 days. Yes.
At some point in time after your last visit and into May of 2014, did some federal agents come to speak to you in Mississippi?
Yes, please.
And do you recall where you were when these federal agents came to speak to you?
Yes, I was at work.
And did they question you on that date?
Yes, please.
Did they question you about your relationship with Granville Ritchie?
Yes, please.
And did they ask you to look through your phone?
Yes, yes, it is.
Did you cooperate with them and allow them to do that?
Yes, please.
Ms. Vann, I'm going to show you what's been pre-marked at State's Exhibit 1X, 1 through X18. You previously looked through these?
Yes.
And do they fairly and accurately depict the text messaging that occurred between you and Granville Ritchie May 16, 2014 through May 18, 2014?
Yes.
State removing the evidence, State's Exhibit X 1 through 18 for purpose of the motion to perpetuate. Ms. Vann, after you left in January of 2014, did you maintain contact with Granville Ritchie through the text messaging and phone
Yes.
calling?
Yes.
Was there a way that you communicated more often than the other? Did you communicate more talking on the phone or texting?
No, it was more on texting. We barely talk on the phone.
When you texted each other, was this something that happened every day? Would there be long spans of time that you would not communicate?
I always go by when he will text me. I mean, a lot of times I will text and I don't get a reply back. So, I mean, when he get ready, then he texts back. So.
Would there be a week period where there would be no
It
communication?
was like almost every day.
So you would communicate almost every day?
Right.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 1X. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes, please.
And up at the top here, that date that's shown there, was that May 16th of 2014?
Yes.
The first call is Granville Ashanti Ritchie. Did you put that name in your phone?
Yes, please.
And prior to learning his name was Granville Ritchie, what did you have? How did you have him saved in your phone?
Travel.
And the 727-288-3413, was that his phone number that you communicated with him?
No.
That's not his phone number that you communicated with him?
No.
What was his phone number then?
Yeah, it's his phone number is 727. Yeah, it's the 727-288-3413.
So that was Granville
Which
Ritchie.
is the right number. Yes.
And on May 16th of 2014, it shows at 11:11 p.m. there was a phone call between you and Granville Ritchie.
Correct.
Did you call him or did he call you?
He called me.
Was that a long conversation or a short conversation?
It was a short conversation.
Do you recall what the conversation was about on that day?
Yeah. Okay. Before then, his mom had asked me to talk to him on going back to work. So that day when he called me, he said, "Baby, I'm listening to you and I'm ready to go back to work. I want us to, to move out of the state and, start a family, start a relation. Get a better relationship and start a family." And I said, "Oh, what happened? I'm happy, I was happy."
What is it that his mother, Granville Ritchie's mother, had previously asked you to talk about him going back to work?
When I was down here.
in January of 2014?
Correct, yeah.
Was this an ongoing conversation for the two of you, for him to start going back to work?
Yes.
And so on that day when he called you at 11:11 p.m., did he sound upset or stressed in any way?
No.
Did he sound the way he normally did on all the other times you had spoken to him?
Yeah, he sound, it was different because nobody don't talk to me like the way he was talking, being nice on the phone, so I'm surprised.
Do you mean talking about your future and moving
Yeah.
forward in your relationship?
Right, because he never said nothing like that, so happy.
Yeah. Did he tell you where he was at that time that he had called you?
No, he didn't tell me where he was at the time. No, he had texted me before then and said he will call me in 15 minutes, and that's when he called. I mean, he didn't tell me where he was.
Showing you State's Exhibit X2. It begins with one text that had occurred the night before on May 15th of 2014, and then continues on starting with May 16th of 2014. Messaging between, these messages between you and Granville Ritchie.
Yes,
And again, is that his name, how it was saved in your phone up at the top,
yes, please.
with his phone number underneath the name?
Yes.
Now, what color are your text messages in?
Blue,
And what color are his, Granville Ritchie's text messages in?
yellow.
Was it normal for you to greet each other in the morning through texts such as these?
Yes, I know them for that.
State's Exhibit X3 is a continuation on, was it typical for you to communicate throughout the day, such as this show is starting in the morning and continuing out through the midday?
The first thing I did was,
Was it a habit that you all would talk starting in the morning, in the middle of the afternoon, and continue on through the day? Would you talk a bunch each day, or was it usually one contact and that was it?
it just, it just depended. It wasn't like every day the same, no. It just depended.
And in Mississippi, were you on Central Time or Eastern Standard Time?
Okay. I think we 1 hour. Is it on Eastern? No, I think it's Central.
Central Time in Mississippi?
Yeah.
So Central Time, that's 1 hour behind Eastern
Right.
Standard Time?
Correct, right.
So is your phone, when you are in Mississippi, your phone comes up Central Time? It comes up the time where you're located in Mississippi?
Right.
Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
So going back to State's Exhibit 1X, a call being at 11:11 p.m. Central Time is 12:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Correct.
And the time that these texts come through, is it the time that's underneath the message, the
Yes.
time that it had been sent?
Yes.
On State's Exhibit X3, to continue on, you made a statement that you had been at work that day. And what is it that he had asked from you?
I think he said he was broke, that he needs some money.
And can you speak up just a little bit?
Oh, yeah, he said he was broke, that he needs some money. Yeah, he was stressed.
Were you able to give him money on that day?
Yeah, I sent him $150.
State's Exhibit X4. Originally, did you tell him that you didn't have money, but then you were able to get some?
Yes, I told him I was broke.
Where did you get the $150 from?
I mean, I had to go into my account, remember
So you had it in your account.
Right.
State's Exhibit X5. Does this show that you were messaging him about sending him the money?
Yes, please.
And so you text, I got 150 from you heading to Walmart to send it, your name or mom's. What do you mean by that?
Yes, I was asking, excuse me, I was asking if I should use his name or his mom's.
And why did you, what do you mean use his name or his mom's?
Yeah, because a lot of times when he asks me for something, he will ask me to use his mom's name.
And is that to send money?
Yes,
And so on that date, who did you send the $150 to? His name or his mother's name?
I sent it to his mom's name.
And when you send this money to his mom's name, is this like a wire transfer?
Yes,
And was that done at Walmart in Mississippi on that date?
yes.
Now he responds later, please baby, stressed out, just wake up, think, send that shit to Granville Ritchie.
Right.
Had you gotten that message prior to sending the money?
Yes, I have sent the money before, yeah.
You sent the money before you got his message that he wanted you to send it to him?
Correct.
And is that where you begin to tell him, did you text, oh my God, OMG, is that, oh my God?
Yes,
Already did it in mom's name.
yes.
Were you trying to figure out if there was something you could do to fix that?
I mean, I have just did it, so I did, I know it's either way he was going to receive the money, so.
You knew his mother would give him the money.
Exactly, yeah.
But you're asking him, what should I do? You're going to try to fix it?
Right. Yes, I was, because I didn't know whether he, I think he had told me that his mom was at work then on the phone. So, yeah, so I was trying to figure out if I should go back and change the name to his name or his mom.
State's Exhibit X7. The blue message there sent at 6:11 p.m. Gloria Gibson from Ivy Vann, 3821 29th STR, Meridian, Mississippi, with a zip code and a reference number, $150. Did you text that?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
Okay, that's the reference number that when she's go to Walmart to get it, they'll need the reference number and my information.
To be able to pick up the money?
Yes.
State's Exhibit X8 is, your messages are in blue and Granville Ritchie's messages are in the yellow.
All right.
Why are you sending him messages, yes, baby, talk to me, baby, Trevor, please talk to me?
I forget what it was, but a lot of times when you call him or you text him, he don't answer. So, yeah. I don't know if,
That's speculation.
Would that be common that you would text him and say, please talk to me, if you had texted him and you hadn't gotten a response, then you would try again to get him to talk to you?
Right, right.
State's Exhibit X9. There's a text message that was sent at 10:54 p.m. Central Time that he texted you a call.
Counsel, I'm sorry.
A call in 15 okay. And you respond back okay. Did Granville call you after sending that text message?
Yes, I think, yeah. Yes, I did call.
And showing you State's Exhibit 1X, that text that he said, call in 15 okay at 10:54 p.m.
Yeah.
You then received a call at 11:11 p.m. from Granville Ritchie, is that correct?
Correct.
And that's the short conversation that you previously discussed.
Yes, correct.
Continuing on to the morning of May 17th, 2014. You texted, "Good morning, baby. I slept good last night. Thanks for realizing how much I love you."
Yeah.
Was that in response to the conversation that you had had with him about him wanting to move the relationship forward?
Yes.
State's Exhibit X10, and it's a continuation on of that original message that we had just read. "Thanks for realizing how much I love you. That's all I want from you. Love you so much. I'm at work."
Yes.
And he responds back, "Love you and more." State's Exhibit X11. "All thanks, baby. I'm crazy in love with you." That was your text message?
Yeah.
Were you in love with him back in May in 2014?
I think I was.
And he responds back, "I feel the same." And again, did you call him baby?
Yeah.
State's Exhibit X12. You were texting him, "Dan, baby, are you okay?" Did you know did you believe there was something wrong prior to sending that text, or was there something that happened, or you were just texting that because you hadn't heard from him in a long period of time?
I think I had texted him and there wasn't no reply, so yeah, that's when I said, "That baby, are you okay?"
And then he responds back 2 minutes later, "No, I'm at the police station. They want to ask me questions, but soon call you."
Yeah.
Was that the first time you had heard that he was at the police station?
Yes.
And you respond back, "OMG, what's going on?"
Yes.
And he tells you, "Relax, call Vivid."
Right.
Vivid, is that his mother?
Yes.
And did you have her phone number?
Yes, I have that phone number.
State's Exhibit X13. You respond back, "Okay, she's not answering, baby, you okay?"
Yes, I did.
Did you attempt to call Vivid after he told you to?
Yes, I did.
X14. You respond, "Baby, you okay?" He writes back, I let you know, okay, baby." You respond, "Okay," and again, he texts, "Did you talk to Viv?"
Right.
Is that his mother, Vivette?
Yes.
For Vivid?
Yeah.
And you respond back, "She said she was gonna call me right back, but she hasn't."
Yes.
State's Exhibit X15. He responds, "Yes, I did, but I'm wondering what is going now because I'm not charged, but I'm here 7 HRS." Is that for 7 hours?
Yes.
Now. At that point, did you know why he was being questioned by law enforcement?
No.
You text back what you talking about, what you did. X16, he responds back in all capital letters, "So you want me to text you or just you what I did? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Really, do you even think sometimes?" Would he normally text you in capital letters like that?
No.
And you respond back because you send this text to me.
Right.
And you continue on to say, yes, I did, but I was wondering what is going now because I'm not charged, but here, I'm here 7 hours now. You texted back what he had previously texted you.
Right, I forwarded that back to him.
Why did you forward that back to him?
Because I was trying to let him know that he sent me this, and now I'm worried, but, and asking him what's going on, but, you know, he telling me like, do I think sometimes?
In other words, he wasn't going to tell you if he had done something
Right.
over the text
Over
message.
the phone, right.
And he responds back, yes, I sent that meaning I'm still here, can't ask me, quest like that, Ivy. X18, just wait, okay, love. And you apologize, and then it goes on into Sunday, which is May 18th of 2014.
Correct.
And are you checking in to see how he's doing?
Right.
Had you heard back from him that night?
No.
Did he ever tell you why he was being questioned from law enforcement?
He never told me.
When was the first time that you learned why law enforcement was questioning him back on May 17th of 2014?
When they came to my job and questioned me.
When the federal agents came to your job?
To my job.
That's the first time you learned about the investigation involving Granville Ritchie?
Yes, please.
And was that towards the end of May of 2014?
Yes, please.
Do you know how old Granville Ritchie was when you were dating him?
I think it was 35.
Ms. Vann, I'm approaching you showing you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 02. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yeah.
How is it that you recognize it?
I remember the car.
And is this photograph fairly and accurately depict a silver Lexus, the car that you recognize as being Granville Ritchie's? Prior to the federal agents coming out to speak to you, had you ever heard of the name Calissa Kelly?
No.
Had you ever heard of the name Ebony Wiley?
No.
In one of the text messages on the early morning hours of May 16th of 2014, Granville Ritchie had asked you for $150.
Correct.
Or, I'm sorry, he had asked you for money.
Right.
Was that the first time that he had asked you for money?
No.
How many times prior had he asked you for money?
So many times.
No further questions.
Good afternoon. I believe you first met Granville Ritchie in October of 2013, is that correct?
I don't recall, but I think it was around somewhere around September, October, something like that.
Okay. Do you recall speaking with an FBI agent by the name of Robert Harr on or about May 22nd, 2014?
We're on the phone.
No, I believe ATF agent, I'm sorry, Robert Hart, that met with you in Mississippi.
Yes, I don't recall the name, but yeah, they came to Mississippi, and yeah, came to Mississippi.
ATF?
Yes.
Okay. And they came to you to talk to you about
Granville Ritchie.
Yes,
Okay. And when you met with them, were you truthful with them?
yes.
Okay. And might it refresh your memory as to when you met Granville Ritchie, if you could look at the report and the statement that you gave to them about when you met him? You know?
It was 2013, but I don't remember the date.
Okay. Right. And I had asked you earlier if it was October 2013, and you said October or September.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Okay.
I know towards the end, towards the end of the year, so.
All right. Do you recall telling the agent that it was around October 2013?
I don't recall that.
You went to visit, when you met Granville Ritchie initially, you knew him as Trevor.
Correct.
And it wasn't until a later time that you learned his formal name is Granville Ritchie.
Correct.
Now, the name Trevor, however, was a name that he went by, correct?
Yeah, that's what he told me.
Right. And it wasn't just you that called him Trevor, his mother called him Trevor, correct?
Not that I know.
Okay, so you don't know whether or not his mother called him Trevor?
No.
Okay. She may have called him Trevor?
Maybe she knows, but I have no idea.
Okay. And do you know whether or not his other family members referred to him as Trevor?
I don't know none of his family besides his mom.
Okay. So, as far as whether or not that was the nickname that he went by with family and friends, that may very well be, right?
Maybe, I don't know, but he told me Trevor.
Sure, sure. But clearly, when he said my name is Trevor, obviously that wasn't his full name, right? Normally you have a first name and a last name and a middle name?
Right, but, yeah.
Okay. Did you feel like he was deceiving you by saying his name was Trevor?
I mean, if you meet somebody and they tell you their name, you don't know nothing, they're deceiving you.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously when he asked you to send him money, you didn't send money to Trevor.
Right, I sent it to his mom, then later to his Granville Ritchie.
Okay. You indicated that, on several occasions, you've indicated that the last time you came to Tampa to stay with Granville Ritchie was in January of 2014.
Correct.
Might it be that that's the first time you came?
No, that was the last time.
Do you recall telling the agent from ATF that the first time you came to visit him in Florida was in January 2014? And that you stayed for 10 days?
No.
Do you recall telling the agent that the second time you visited him in Florida was in March of 2014?
No.
Do you recall telling him that the third time you visited him in Florida was in April 2014 and that you remained for 10 days, returning home about April 28th of 2014?
No, I don't recall that.
If you might it refresh your memory to look at the narrative of your statement to the agents?
Okay.
If I could approach. Then show you, this is page 2 of the report of Agent Hart. And paragraph 6, if you want to review that just for yourself. a chance to review it? You need more time? Do you recall now having reviewed that? Does that refresh your memory as to telling the agent the times that you visited Granville Ritchie in Florida?
I still can't recall.
Okay. Would it be your testimony that you did not tell the agent that you came to Florida to visit in January, March, and April of 2014?
No, I remember I talked to the agent, but I don't recall the dates.
As you sit here today, do you recall the dates?
I still don't recall the date.
Okay. So when you said earlier that it was January, that was the last time, it could be that it was April, that was the last time.
Yeah, because when you come in, the tag on my luggage, that was the
Sure.
is that the one there?
The tag of the luggage says January, right?
The date.
Which is consistent with you being there in January of 2014. Yes?
Yes.
And my recollection is that you had a set of doctor's luggage, right?
Correct.
In fact, you had 5 pieces of this brown doctor's luggage.
Yeah.
And you brought 2 bags with you to Tampa,
Correct.
and you left 2 bags behind, and you borrowed a black, smaller bag from Granville Ritchie to go back home to Mississippi. Do you recall that?
I remember I brought 2 carry-on in a huge one,
Right?
but I wasn't sure if I took the carry-on with me or I left it. I wasn't sure. I can't recall that.
Okay. I'm going to show you 3 images that I marked as Defense Exhibit 1A, B, and C. And ask if you recognize these images. Recognize those? This time I'm going to introduce Defense Exhibit 1, A, B, and C for purposes of this motion to perpetuate.
No objection.
I'm going to show you exhibit, let's see if I'm getting this right. 1A. Does that appear to be a photograph with 2 suitcases in it?
Yeah.
And do they appear to be similar suitcases?
The other one is a little bit far, and I'm not sure if they look the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
The suitcases that you had, the doctor suitcases, were they brown?
Yes.
And did they have, was it a cloth material?
Yeah.
And so you're not sure, these may both be your doctor suitcases?
No, the first one is mine. With that, I remember.
Okay, what about the second one in the
The
corner?
second one, I'm not sure.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, the second one may be your suitcase if it in fact was a doctor's suitcase.
If it's the same brown and brown is in the view, mine carrying on, I'm not sure.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
When you look at this image, can you tell whether or not these suitcases have anything inside of them? Whether they're empty or full?
I mean, I'm sitting here, it looks like,
If you can't, you can. If you can, you can.
I'm not sure, but I mean, if the luggage is empty, you know if it's empty, but it looks like mine, there's something in it, I'm not sure.
Okay, would you say the one that's closest
Yeah, the one is, that is closest, yeah.
looks like it's...
Like it got some things in it, yeah.
Okay, and what about the one in the corner? Does it look like it's full as well?
That looked like it have a different material, like a harder
Okay.
kind of material.
All right. Do you have your own exhibits? Ah. I'm going to show you State's exhibit. BB7. You recall looking at this exhibit? You recall looking at that exhibit? Do you recall a moment ago looking at this photo? Yes? And you recall indicating that it's empty, consistent with your luggage being put away on the shelves in the room at the apartment.
Yes, my stuff will put on the ship, yeah.
Okay? So this empty suitcase was consistent with that, right?
Yes, yeah.
Well, you say you guessed. Do you recall whether or not you left your items in the suitcase?
No, my items were not in the suitcase, they were
Okay.
on the shelf. I arranged everything there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you the defense exhibit 1B. You recognize the items that are inside of this suitcase? Yes?
Yes,
And do they appear to be your items?
yes.
Does this appear to be a different suitcase?
No,
Okay. Do you know whether or not these items were packed in that suitcase by yourself?
no, I don't recall that, because I remember, like I said, I had, packed everything on the shelf, I had took everything out, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Would you agree that it looks like the items in the suitcase are in there somewhat orderly?
yeah, it looked like, yeah.
Okay, it's not piled in there like you see on the floor.
Right.
Okay. But you don't know whether or not you had packed that like that or someone else packed it like that?
No, I mean, I packed my stuff when I came, but like I said, I had put everything on the shelf, you know. I mean, he asked me to bring everything out and just hang it there, so that's what I did.
Okay. I'm going to show you Defense Exhibit 1C. And it may be difficult to see on the television screen, and I can bring the picture to you. But does that appear to be another brown suitcase?
And it does look like it's brown.
Okay. Do you want me to bring it to you so you can take a closer look at it?
Which you can.
Okay.
Yeah, it does look like my other luggage, if it is, yeah.
Okay. And there's a little logo, like a little plate at the bottom of the suitcase. Does that look consistent with the Dockers logo?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. You indicated that at the time that you were seeing Mr. Ritchie, that you were going through a separation with your husband.
Correct.
Were you and your husband still living at the same address during the
Yes.
happening?
Oh, yeah.
And that would be the address that was provided to ATF during the interview?
Yes, correct.
Did you tell the investigators with ATF when they interviewed you on May 22nd, 2014, that you and your husband were going through a separation?
I think so.
You think or you know?
I think so, I forgot.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
When you traveled to Florida to visit Granville Ritchie, did you tell your husband that you were going to visit Granville Ritchie?
No,
Okay.
no.
What did you tell him?
I mean, I told him I was going to visit a friend, I never told him
you tell him that you were going to Florida with coworkers?
I mean, he always know I go out with, I go out of town with, coworkers all the time, so.
Did you tell him you were going with coworkers to
Like
Florida?
I said, I don't recall that.
You indicated that when you received a phone call from Mr. Ritchie about a little bit after 11 o'clock in the evening, where he said to you that he wants to go back and get back to work, that made you happy.
Yes.
And in that conversation, it said he wants to get back to work and move out of state and start a new life.
Correct.
Did you, in fact, know that when he first met you, Mr. Ritchie was working out of state?
Yeah, that's what he told me, that he could travel.
Right. And he traveled and worked with cell phone towers?
Correct.
And did you also tell you that the reason that he quit working was because he missed his family here in the Tampa Bay area? He didn't tell you that? But would you agree that when he did work prior to May of 2014, his work was out of state, not in Florida?
Well, like I said, he told me they go to different states and put towers, so.
You don't know?
Right.
Thank you.
Ms. Vann, when you were questioned by the federal agents, did you have a calendar out, looking at it, knowing the exact dates that you had traveled down to visit Granville Ritchie?
No, not that.
Prior to, strike that, all of the visits that you came down to Florida, how many total visits did you come down?
3.
The first 2 visits were where? Did you ever go to the apartment on those first 2 visits?
The first 2 was hotel, and the last one was the apartment.
Did you ever go to the apartment during the first 2 visits?
No,
Did you ever leave any luggage during the first 2 visits?
no,
Is it fair to say the only visit that you left any luggage in that apartment or here in Florida with Granville Ritchie was on the 3rd visit,
yes,
your final visit?
correct.
On your last visit, with the tags marked January 2nd of 2014 on those brown bags, you remember leaving there. Where were the clothes when you left the apartment?
Like I said, I have put them on the shelf. I arranged everything myself.
So when you left the last time after your 3rd visit, up until the date that those photos were taken, in May of 2014, do you know who may have moved those or could have moved those?
I have no idea.
Take a moment. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, and I should have just read you all the instruction that I read previously with regard to another recording. the video recording that you just watched had been edited to eliminate irrelevant portions would not add to your understanding of the case. The fact that the recording had been edited should not concern you in any way and must not impact the way you view, listen to, and consider the evidence. All right, very good. Okay, state.
State rest, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is now 2 to 5. The state has rested, so this would be the point in time where I excuse you for the evening. So, counsel approach real quick. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm just talking schedule with the attorney. So, tomorrow morning, there are some matters that I need to discuss with the attorneys outside of your presence, so it would be a better use of your time to show up a little bit later, like 9:30 tomorrow morning, so you're not just hanging around waiting for us to conclude our business. So we will begin at 9:30 tomorrow. I anticipate that at some point tomorrow, I will be giving you your final instructions on the law. And then we will be recessing for the evening and coming back Wednesday morning with closing arguments. Once closing arguments are done, then you all will begin your deliberations. I'm doing my best to schedule this so as to give you all as much time as you can have during the daylight hours to deliberate your verdict. Because we talked about sequestration and that in the event you were not done deliberating, you all would have to be sequestered. So I am going to, on Wednesday morning, the last thing we will do is closing arguments, and then you will begin your deliberations as soon as closing arguments are concluded. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow as far as Wednesday and what you need to bring or not bring. All right? So with that, we will be in our evening recess. Please remember that while we're on this break overnight, you're not to discuss this case with anyone. You're not to listen to, watch, read any news accounts related to it. And you're not to do any independent investigation on your own about anything related to this case. All right, see you all back here at 9:30 tomorrow morning.
All rise, jury exiting.
Very good. Jury's up. Everyone have a seat. I did provide you all a copy of the jury instructions, including the release of the alternate, and I think I did include also just the penalty phase initial instructions, assuming we get there. So the main questions I had were if there were going to be any other lesser includeds requested, specifically with regards to the sexual battery charge and the aggravated child abuse. I had thrown in with a question mark just asking if the defense was going to be requesting lewd and lascivious battery, victim less than 16, and or aggravated battery, and on the aggravated child abuse, if you were going to be requesting the lesser of battery. So just let me know one way or another tomorrow morning. Also, with regards to the ranking, I ranked them as far as the murder charge, first-degree murder, second-degree murder, aggravated manslaughter, third-degree felony murder. Now, if you all want to reconfigure that, that's fine. Aggravated manslaughter, I believe, is a higher punishment than manslaughter and third-degree felony murder. So it just made more sense to me to put third-degree felony murder last. But if you all want to change that, we can discuss it. Also, on the third-degree felony murder, the state in the instruction had put the underlying felony as aggravated child abuse. But if that's the interlocking, that doesn't make sense, because they find him guilty of aggravated child abuse, then that would be actually first-degree felony murder. So it seems to me, you all need to tell me what the lesser is if they find him guilty of a
Child abuse.
Child abuse.
Third-degree felony.
So it'd be the child abuse charge, it'd be the interlocking. And so then, wouldn't I also need to give them an instruction on the interlocking counts for child abuse with third-degree felony murder? Right? Because I give them the interlocking counts with regards to aggravated child abuse and first-degree felony murder, but I think I would also need to give them one for the child abuse and the third-degree felony murder, right?
Yes, Judge, and count 2 is also going to be an interlocking count for felony murder.
We were going to suggest, Your Honor, when you do the interlocking counts, that it read sexual battery and/or aggravated child abuse.
Okay, so I can make that change, and then, I can probably throw in then something with regards to that about if you find the defendant guilty of the, or something we have to add about if they're gonna go with child abuse and the lesser of third-degree felony murder. So you all think about that, I'll think about that, but that's, I need to address that as well on the legally interlocking instruction, I believe. Other than that, other than that, seems fairly straightforward as far as the jury instructions go. Okay? Okay, and then, so tomorrow, you want to make any motions now that the state has rested? I'm going to go ahead and do that.
You want to do it now or in the morning?
How lengthy are you going to be?
Not very long.
Okay, then let's do it now.
Your Honor, this time we would move for judgment of acquittal as to all 3 counts against my client. Your Honor, the evidence that's presented by the state is strictly circumstantial, and it would be our position that even looking at the circumstantial evidence in the light most favorable to the state at this point in time, there is not competent evidence to go to a jury to indicate that my client, any more than Ebony Wiley, committed first-degree murder, committed any act of violence against Felicia Williams, and the state's case respectfully fails as to all 3 counts.
Okay, state response?
And Your Honor, I would, for the court's consideration and evaluation, I would cite 2 circumstantial evidence cases. One is Hodgkins v. State, 175 Southern 3rd, 741. And the other one is Wright v. State, 221 Southern 3rd, 512.
Your Honor, the state would argue that, viewing the evidence in light most favorable to the state, there's been more than competent evidence to prove the defendant abused Felicia Williams, physically abused her, causing great bodily harm and actually causing death. And he sexually battered her, and then he murdered her in a premeditated fashion. Based on the medical evidence, as far as premeditation, based on the ruse that he used to have Miss Wiley leave the residence so he had access to the child.
Okay, deny the motion for JOA. So tomorrow morning, we'll have our charge conference, and I will have my initial colloquy with the defendant regarding his right to testify, and then, of course, before the defense rests, I will inquire one more time again of the defendant if he wishes to testify or to remain silent.
And Your Honor, what time do you want us to be here in the morning?
You all be here at 9. I think
Right.
we should be able to get a charge conference
Right.
done. Because like I said, I think everything's pretty straightforward other than figuring out if you want any other lesser included, either the ones I threw out for consideration or any that you want to ask for. And then we just need to talk about the language for the interlocking counts. And I did change the verdict form that the state originally gave me. I originally, the verdict form I got for the state was just an either or, premeditated or felony murder, and then I included the choice of both, okay? So my verdict form looks different from the state's original one. So, but obviously take a look at it tonight as well, let me know if there's any issues with it.
Judge, the third element, well, take a look at it real quick. The count 1, killing was felony murder based upon a finding of aggravated child abuse. We need to add capital sexual battery to that.
Okay,
And then the same would apply to the third alternative interrogatory under A, aggravated child abuse, or capital sexual battery or aggravated child abuse.
okay. Well, tell you what, let's do, because we're going to go through these page by page, all right? So make all of your notes that need to be changed, and I'm happy to make the changes here, but let's do it just page by page, okay? All right, very good. See you all tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Thank you.
Good night.